Hello. Kind of just Friday night here. I've decided I have a couple of hours and don't really want to get into any more work. So I decided to start a new project. Don't really have anything in mind. I'm just going to it's probably going to be similar to one I started before. So I'm going to just open it from a template. I'm working in Advanced Steel 2021, so I'm going to open the 2021 template. And we're going to go from here. So what I'm going to do is save this. So let's save as, and let's create a folder for it. So I'm just going to go here. I could probably put it in this one, or I can just copy this. Alright, so I copy paste, and let's rename this, and I'll just name it 400. And then I put the company name usually. So I'll just do that. I'm gonna go inside. This is a project I've used earlier. So let's go in here. And let's just call it platform. Dun, 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 dun. So I'm just gonna do one long video. So platform 2022, because that's the year I'm working in, because I did something similar to this before. So always try and start on your near your origin. Always start in the XY plane would be my biggest recommendation. So what we're going to do first is we'll go to objects, and I create my grid lines singularly. I create them one at a time, so I have control over the length of them. I don't know if that's changed the last couple of years. I just have got used to doing it this way. So what I like to do is I like to create my grid lines the same length as my drawing. I don't like to have them any longer than the area of my steel, because it's already, otherwise it'll give me dimensions to the extra length. So I like to just keep it the length of whatever. So I'm going to make a platform here. So I've made this 30 feet long, you can see. So I'll do a 30-foot long platform, and I'll just make it 20 foot wide. So we'll copy this over here, 20 foot. And I should probably do that 15 feet, but it doesn't really matter. And I'll just change that to a 2. And then I'll go back to objects again, and I'll create another grid line this way. And we'll call this A. So I'm not going to rush this video, so it's probably not going to suit a lot of people. So I'm going to copy this 15 feet this way, and 30 feet. I'm going to call this B. I'm actually going the wrong way with this, sorry. Yeah, so this will be B anyway. So we'll go B, and we'll call this one C here. Now I'm not working this off a project or anything. I'm just going to make up some rubbish out of my head. So for one, there's our grid lines. So what I'm going to do is we're going to let on we're drawing this on an existing building. And we're going to say that this is the roof level. And let's call the roof level 100 feet, just to make it easy. You know what? Let's call it something different. 65 feet, right? So if you want this to be 65 feet, what you want to do is come over here, go and put in your elevation symbol. This is going to be my top of roof. Globally, if you make this 60 feet, now you can see that's 60 feet. So we can see that will affect everything we do from here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in existing beams along here. So let me put in this existing beam here. And I made this 30 feet long. So I'm going to make these a little longer. So I'm going to make this 50 feet. Now you can see that was created. Once I enter to break out it brings me in here into my beam. If I come in here, I can see that the material and the coating will come in automatically as was previously. So right click in the top bar. So we can see my positioning is correct. If it's not correct, you can see once you set it once, it'll come in that way next time. Same with naming. It'll come in automatically. It will not. So click on your model role. I want that to come in automatically every time. And I'm going to call this existing steel. So existing steel. And I'm also going to come up here and I am going to put it on the existing steel layer, which is important. And I'm going to go this way. Alright, so that's my existing steel. Now the other important thing to do with this is double click on it, go to naming, define as main part, and then come down here to behavior and turn off use for numbering, use for lists, use for numbering, use for lists for assembly. You can keep it for collision check and as a structural member if you want. Now I'm going to copy that across this way, and that was 20 feet. So now you can see you have those two structural beams. I'm going to build the columns up here. So if we want, we can also put structural beams going the other way. So what you can do is we could just copy this one. We copy it from that end there. Now you can see that switch to midpoint. So what I want to do is put that in the grid intersection. So let's go to grid intersection. Now what a lot of people would recommend is, now I could just draw in this beam if I want, or copy it. So if you can see, let's just draw it in. It's going to be easier to show you. So if I draw in the beam, it's going to come in on the beam layer. But if I come in here and put this on existing steel, it'll draw the beam in on existing steel. So if I go here, draw it over this way, and I'm going to go 40 feet. You can see that it has come in with the model roll because I ticked this box here. So that works for all these if you want to have these come in automatically, whatever you previously input. So I'm going to move this back 10 feet again. So move this back 10 feet. Okay, and I'm going to move. So what else you can do is if you leave this on the standard layer and you draw in the beam here instead, and you go to grid intersection again, and it's not, sorry, it's not snapping to that for some reason. So let's try again. Grid intersection, there it is. Now I could have just copied this over, right, like I did before, but I'm just going to do it a different way. Now you can see the beam will come in with the correct existing, and everything else is correct. W10, that's fine, or sorry, W12. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the existing layer by just picking the beam and then picking on existing layer, or I can just move this over the 10 feet. Now you can see I'm making sure that the line is snapping when I'm moving this. You can also restrict direction. So in the X direction, if you want to come in here and click on this button, it'll restrict this so you can only move it in the X direction. You can see that. So these are huge commands I use all the time. Very important. Alright, so the other thing you can do is come up here. I have match properties set up here in my quick bar. If you come here, match properties is right there. You just need to activate it. And then click on that and just click on that beam and click on that, and that'll put that over. Alright, so that's my existing. Now I want a slab on the roof, and I want that slab to be 6 inches. So I'm going to get this steel and I'm going to move it down. So I'm going to move it down 6 inches. You can see again, I'm making sure that it's going in the Z direction. So it's minus Z. And I'm going to just do 6 inches. So I've now moved that down 6 inches. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in a slab here. So let's go to objects, go to slab, and let's see if we can get this to snap for us over to this corner. So let's go from this corner and I'm wandering off a bit there. Generally I'll draw lines for this, so yeah, it doesn't want to snap this time, so it doesn't really matter. Let's just put it in there, and you can see it's an 8-inch slab, and you can do a 6-inch. Now if you draw another slab, you might want them to fit automatically to each other. So what you can do is, I'll show you now. So what we can do now is we can just drag this back in the X direction over to here if you want to keep it clean and tidy. Okay, so now you have a slab on top of that, right? So there's your slab, there's your existing steel. Now my existing steel is hitting the other steel. You don't want that, because if you do an isometric view, that'll include these. It won't show you some lines because there's clashes there. So what I do with this is I'm going to split those beams. So let's split these beams. So that one is split, that one is split, you can see. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come in here and add a feature. So let's hit the beam we want to contour and hit the other beam. Alright, now we've contoured this. It doesn't have to be exact because it's an existing beam. We're not going to put a connection in there. We can put a note saying that we're not showing the connection, just for clarity. So we can copy this. So let's come back here to the tools, and let's just create by template. So select the main beam, secondary beam, main beam, secondary beam, main beam, secondary beam. Now you could do this by using this other one also, but I like to do these one at a time, even though it wastes a little bit of time. But I like to see them all one at a time so I know it's getting done. Alright, so we're good. So now, the only thing is, did I copied this one over, I didn't copy the other one. So let's go back in and check these. And I did not disable the behavior of these. So let's go to naming. So I should have done this before I split them. Behavior, and turn this off as well, so they won't appear on any lists or any drawings or anything like that. Alright, so we're good. So we got our existing steel. So what we want to do now is we want to put in the platform. Let me just show you something with this concrete. So if I copy this over, this was 40 feet, right? So if I copy this over, let's say 35 feet, right? So there, 35. You can see this is now turned into one slab. Now this is what you're going to want, but let's say you go another 5 feet. Yeah, so it's giving you two slabs. But if I go back, so let's go back to where it was a second ago. Now if you click on this, you can see it does only select this one. So let me go in here, and if you do go to automatic fitter, go to priority and change that to a 10. The other one is a priority of 20, so they have different priorities. So now it's showing you two different slabs, and the one with the 20 is showing the whole slab, and the one with the lower priority is only showing you the part that's not clashing with that. So that can be useful, I guess. I haven't really used it for anything, but it is useful. Alright, so I'm going to delete that because I don't need that slab. I'm probably going to do a stairs over here later, so what we can do is we can just extend this out. We'll go another 20 feet. And now let's say I want to extend these two beams. Now you can drag both of these beams by selecting both of them and then doing the shift button and then selecting both of these and then going out here 20 feet. and I just went 20 inches, I guess. So let's back up, undo the must use command in advanced steel, I guess. So another way I also like to extend these is if there's a lot of them, not with two generally, but I'll just put a beam in there and come over here. And this is a custom command that I got from a forum online. So I'm going to extend the system. So that'll extend those system lines to that system line, and then just delete that. Generally, it's not worth doing that for two beams, but for lots of beams, it is worth doing it. Alright, so let's put a platform in here. We want to start down here on top of this. So what I'm going to do is, I generally don't use the column command. I'll just use the beam command. I'll come up here and we'll go up 12 feet, let's say. Now you can see it's carried over the positioning from the previous. So if I go center, it'll come in center next time. And let's just say we want to do a HSS here. So just go back in here, rectangular hollow section. Let's go square, and let's go 4 or 5 inches. We'll go 5 by 5 by 3/8. Okay, 5 by 5 by 3/8. Now you can see this is square. Now I'm operating in 2D wireframe mode here, so you can see the edges are square. You can come in here and see display type, and you can change that to exact symbol, exact with edge features. You can also do that. Now I've turned it off there. Now you can also select this and come over here to your toolbar and go here to your quick views, and you can use this to change the presentation, and it'll go through them options for you. But you don't want all these lines. It's going to slow down your model, so just click on this. It'll bring it back to the main one. Alright, so now the problem with that is it is coming in as a beam, right? It's coming in as existing. Now, because I closed out this box, it doesn't give me the options up here anymore, so you have to do it when this box opens first. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this to column, and up here I'm going to put it on the column layer. Sorry, that didn't work. I have to select it first and then click on the column layer. Okay, so 12 feet looks a little bit high, but anyway. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is copy this around. So that's all I do. So copy, I'm going to copy it over this way at 20 feet. And let's select the two of them and copy this way. Just always make sure that your lines, now if you want it, you can change this, and you can turn this one on, and that'll kind of restrict you a little more, but I don't recommend doing that. I just leave it with polar tracking on, and just wait a second. I let go of the mouse. I can see the direction is correct, and go 30 feet. Okay, that's that. Alright, so now we have our beams. The top of the platform is going to be 12 feet. So what I'm going to do is, these columns are going to be a little bit high. So I'm going to put 1.5" grating on top of this. So let's do 1.5" grating. So that means we're going to come down 1.5". So what we'll do is let's draw in the beams. Now, I don't really like this command here. I don't think it really matters anymore, but continuous beams. So if I put in continuous beams, I'm going to go from here to here, right? And then you have to be continuous, right? Now this is not the type of beam I want, but that's fine. Now I'm going over here. You can see I'm going south to north. Now I'm going west to east. But now I'm going north to south. So you're modeling in those two opposite beams, opposite directions. It's not recommended practice previously. So what I generally do is, let's go back to the eye sections. So it doesn't, I guess I don't really need to do this, but let's put it in as a 10-inch beam, right? It'll be a 10 by 33. And then positioning. So you can see, because I put, I turned on the, so you can see I turned on the layer. columns. So these should be on the beams layer, right? So beams. Now you can see it's because I have activated the columns layer here instead of leaving this on standard. So the practice is to leave this on standard almost all the time, and things will come in on their correct layer. So I've put in those beams now, but I am not happy with those beams because this one is modeled in the opposite direction of that one, and same here and here. So what I can do is I'm going to delete these two. Generally, good practice is to model all your beams, your columns from down to up, and your beams south to north and west to east. So I can copy these if you want, because these were already created correctly. So I'll copy that, and I'll copy this one. So obviously if you don't know these dimensions, I think it's Alec Giles recommends just leaving your snaps here. He likes to just leave node on here. I don't really, to be honest with you, but I can see his point. So copy, and if you go here, you can see it snaps right to the node on the top, and then if you come over here, snaps to the node on the top. So you don't need to know the dimensions, because obviously it's not going to be 20 feet, 30 feet all the time. So I guess you want a couple of more beams there. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to move this down, right, because I want my stairs to be coming off on top of the grating, right? So I'm not going to get too technical with this. The stairs I'm not going to get into too much, but let's just try and keep the height something simple like 12 feet. So let's move these down 1.5 inches, and then if you just want to check them, what did I do down here? 60 feet plus 12 is 72, minus an inch and a half is 71, 10 and a half. And I have all my snaps turned off, so let's go to the midpoint. So it should be 71, 4.5. Oh, did I go fit? Oh yeah, sorry. Why is that 4.5? $21, 4.5. Alright, so I've done something wrong. Oh yeah, because I went down to 6 inches, right? So what I need to do is move that up those 6 inches. So let's move these up to 6 inches. And we'll just move up this elevation as well. And then we can see it move real time. So move these up 6 inches. There you go, 71, 10 and a half. And now you can see my columns are too short. It doesn't matter really, but it is good practice to have your system lines kind of where you want them for. So for something like this, I'm just gonna come down here and I'm going to extend my system lines of my columns up to that beam. Now I guess I'll do both sides different. So generally down here we would have some stiffeners also. So what I might do is move these over a little bit. So let's just assume that these are offset a little bit. So let's move these this way like 5 feet. Alright, so they're offset. So alright, so for up here we can see columns good. We're at the right height, 1.5 inches higher. It's going to be my grating. So let's put some connections in here. So we're just going to do a shear connection here. So let's come over to our connections and I guess platform beams here. I don't go in here anymore. I have it in my favorites. So oh no, it's all the way at the bottom right. Platform beams. Is it? Yeah, there. Shear plate. Anyway, I have it saved in here. So if you want to save these, just go over here and click on this star, and it'll go up here to your favorites. So you can see I have the shear plate here. So I'm going to pick here and here. Now, alright, so you can see there's a shear plate. So you can't obviously just be happy with that because you don't know what it is. So you have to go in and check it. So go to cuts. So originally out of the box, these come in ticked. If both of these are ticked, it's going to come up with an error for that beam. So either do one or the other or not do either, which is fine. So I'm going to cut back from face 3/4 of an inch. Top cope doesn't really matter, right? Unless you're going into a beam. So you don't need to edit this now, but if you're copying this over to a beam, which we will be in a minute, we'll do one shear tab into a beam. Well, we can see. I'll do that in a minute anyway. So most importantly is your copes are going to be important. You don't need to do it right now. Beam stiffener, we don't need that. Column stiffener, don't need that. Plate and bolts. So we can see that the plate is on the inside, which is fine. Now the problem is if you switch this plate to the other side, you're going to say, okay, that's good. The problem you have now is these bolts are going to be associated with the column. So these bolts are going to be associated with the material list on the drawing for the column. It's going to say you need 2 bolts with the column. Whereas when we send the column to site, if it goes out first, we want these bolts to go with the beam. So if you switch the sides of the plates, you need to also invert the bolts. So go to the bolts, invert the bolts, and then you're good. Alright. So now what we're going to do is we're going to copy these beams around a little bit before we go any further. So let's copy these beams over, and we'll do 10 feet and 20 feet. And then copy this one over 10 feet. Alright. So now which beams are going to be continuous and which ones. So I guess a lot of people would like to make the long one. We could do the short one as continuous. So I guess generally we'll do these ones. It's stronger the other way probably because, yeah, obviously a shorter span. But let's just do this and we'll do intersection. We'll split them this way. So you can split, doesn't matter what way we split them. Doesn't really matter what size these beams are. I'm not going to get into small beams because then it gets a little bit annoying with the. So we have the bolts, the plate, the beams are in. So now we got to get our connections in. So what I'm going to do over here is what I'll do is I'll move this out. Let's move this out 5 feet. And then we're going to extend these 2 beams. Now this is kind of similar to my other video, but I kind of never continued and followed through. And I kind of figured I better just start afresh. So let's go in here. We're going to extend this beam over here. And that's good. And we want to extend that center one. And I guess maybe we want to put another one over here. So we can copy these 2 over. So let's copy this over 10 feet again. And then we want to extend that one. Alright. So now this is a really long beam in the middle. Probably would have been better to split this one. So what we'll do is, why don't we put these ones back together? So let's select these 2 beams and click on this here. Merge beams, click on this, merge beams, click on these 2, merge beams. Let's click on this beam we want to split now, and we'll split this one instead. So whatever way you want to do it. So I'm going to go back down here, and I'm going to turn on my midpoint, my endpoint, center I like sometimes, intersection, and then come back here, and I'm going to split it here, and I want to split it here. I want to split it here. Alright. So now this plate, I want to copy this over here. So let's select it. Now do I want this to be part of a mother-daughter relationship or whatever they call it now? Let's see. So what happens is, let's say I want to keep it in a relationship. You use this one here. So I'm going to select this, and select this, and select this. Alright, so I generally, if this one is going on the inside, I won't put this one on the inside, I'll put this one on the outside. So the problem you have is I don't want these as a joint group. So let's click on this and hit this X here and remove that from the joint group. So now what I can do is I'm going to put this plate and I'm going to go plate bolt right, and I'm going to do left, and then I'm going to go to the bolts, and I'm going to uninvert the bolts, because I always do that if I switch the plate, so remember. So now you can see we have a bit of a clash here, which is obviously a bit of a pain. I don't really want to get into that. I mean, look, we can cut the beam back a little bit more, not a good practice, or cut the corner off it. So instead, what I'm going to do actually is, let me switch these beams. So let's switch these to W12 by 22, maybe make them a little bit bigger. 12 by 26, and they'll be still close to hitting. So I've changed that, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change all the exterior ones to that. So doing some engineering here on the fly. So let's select all these. So that's it, I've switched all those. This one in the middle, it can stay the way it is. Alright. So now the problem is, you'll say, oh no, these clips are too small now. And as you can see, the problem with this clip joint is I didn't look at it properly. If I go back in here, this is bad practice. The vertical bolts, you can see 3 inches between, 1.5 inches on the top, 1.5 inches on the bottom, 2 bolts, that's good. But you don't want it to be laid out on the middle of the beam. Whether this is 2.5 inches, 3 inches is standard. So you can see 3 inches beam top. That's where you want it. Now you can see I can add another bolt. So what you're going to do is change this to 3 bolts. And then if you go to your horizontal setting, you can see 2.5 and 1.5 is a 4-inch plate. So that's fine. I have 3/4 of an inch of a cut back. So that gives me 2.5 minus 3/4 is 1.75 inches from the edge of the beam to the hole. Now that can be 1.5 inches, so it just allows you a little bit of extra space. Sometimes the fabricator will ask for a 1/2 inch in there, but I generally like to give 3/4 of an inch. So you can see they are not hitting, but they are mighty close. So I would probably just leave that, or I'd call the guy and say, look, it's going to be tight in there when you're fabricating, but we have one coming on from the outside. We can put this one coming on from the outside also, it might help. So what we might do is I'll come in and edit this one, advanced joint properties. Actually, I'll do it the other way. Let's associate this one. So let's delete this one. Let's come back in here, advanced joint properties, and let's do plate and bolts. Let's switch the plate back to the left hand side. Bolts, let's uninvert them again, and then go back here and copy this joint here onto here, and we can see now both of the beams are coming out from the outside, so it'll make it a little easier anyway. So now the problem is, if you copy this joint over to here, it'll be the same thing. The plate would be on the inside. Generally, if this plate's on the inside, I'll want this one on the outside, but we're going to have the same clash issue here on the corner, so that's fine. We can copy this one over. So let's copy them over and see what happens. So let's copy it over to here, and let's copy it here and see what happens. So now this one is good and this one is no good, because I want this one to come on from the outside also. So let's come in here, click on this, remove it from the joint group, right click, go into the joint box will then appear. Also another thing, if you don't have joint boxes, if you can't see them, just right click and open it. And then I want to do plate, left, right, and then I want to do bolt, and then I'll invert that. So just try and get them right when you're doing them, so you don't have to go back to them. So let's also put an end plate on this while we're doing it. So we need 2 end plates. So let's go to connection vaults, let's go to columns, let's go to end plate. Now we can see we have an end plate in here, right? That end plate looks good to you, right? But so the way I set it up is thickness, dimensions -1/8. You can actually make that a little bigger here, probably. -3/16. Okay. because 3/8 is the thickness, so it'll be half the way in, give a little more room for some welding. But the problem you have is when you go to this column, and let's go back here to this, and we'll change the presentation. Once he cuts this, if he's using a plasma table, that's fine, but I mean, you could give him something better than that, right? So what we can do is we can come up here to, over here to our features, and let's do a corner cut. So there's a corner cut, and you say to yourself, I want this to be convex, and that looks about right. Radius looks pretty close, but let's put it in at 0.5. That'll be fine. So leave it at 0.5. So now what I can do is I can come up here. You can just keep doing that command if you want, or if you have your custom command set up, you can come in here and do corner cut continuous, and I can click on that, and it'll give me that corner, and I can click on that, and it'll give me that corner, and I can click on that. So now that looks a little better, right? So if I go back and go to my shaded view, you can see that looks a little better, right? Just tidier if he's using a plasma, which most people are right now. So now you want to copy this over here, right? But if I select this and I just copy it, now because it's only one column, it's not worth doing this. But really, let's assume we have lots of these columns. Let's go back to our 2D wireframe. So what we want to do is we want to create a connection for this. So let's come here, custom connections, create a new connection. Beam with end, we want to select this column, and we'll just call it 5x5 post cap. Alright, and then select the objects. So I want the cut to the column, I want the cuts to the plate. Now the one thing I didn't check was this weld. I should have checked that before I'm doing this. But let's just keep going. Alright, so driver is good, and then it highlights the post here, and I'll just call this post. Okay, and then close it out, and you should be good to go. That'll be saved in this drawing. So if you go to another drawing, it'll be gone. So unless you save it in a specific drawing in your USA folder or whatever country you're in. But I'm not going to get into that right now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy this over. So what I need to do is just create by template. And here's ones that I've done and saved previously. But we can see we're on platform 2022. Caplos, you can see what it's bringing in here. Okay. And let's go to the post. And there you go. Allow object modification. Okay. So I can come in here and check the weld. So the weld is a square weld. I don't want that to be a square weld. I want that to be a fillet weld in the shop all around. That's good. So let's go back here, and we can also come in here. Advanced joint properties and welds. I should have fixed this beforehand. Fillet welds all around. Okay. In the shop. Alright, so that's good. So there's my connections up top. Now, as you can see, this is freestanding here. We don't want this freestanding, so we want to put some sort of connection down here. So what we're going to do is, let's come into, now there's two different ways of doing this, and I probably do it the wrong way, but this is the way I do it. So, which way is it? This one. Gable wall end plate. I know this is not the way most people do it, so I don't know where the other connection is, but this is how I'm going to do it. So you can see this has come in wrong. That's not how I want to do this, obviously. So what I'm going to do is plate and bolts. So 1/2 inch plate, that's fine. And projections from beam, I'll just do total. and I know the plate 5 inches is fine. Actually 5 inches is not fine. I want to go 3 inches either side, so that 6 is 11, and the 6.5 will change to 6, and then the bolt distance, intermediate distance, is 3 going that way and 3. Yeah, so it's on the gauge line this way, which is fine. And that is why that was set to 6.5, because it will give me 1.5 inches either side. But 1.25 is fine, 1.25 inches either side. So that's 2.5, and 3.5 is 6, which is what I have it set to. So 6, or you could change it back to the 6.5, just to be safe in case the holes are off a little. So maybe safest thing is 6.5. 6 is fine because it's still within the standard. And then 3 inches, so we want 3 inches plus the 5 inches for the post, which is 8 inches. And then we want to also change those bolts to TC bolts, and that looks good to me. Now the problem you're going to have inside this joint is you can do stiffeners, full stiffeners, centered on flanges, so that's all well and good, right? Now let's just, I'm just going to hide this concrete for a minute because it's just bothering me when I'm trying to look at this. So another thing you can do actually is, which is handy, let's say you have a bigger job, you can come in here and do model view. So you can do this 2 ways: quick view, a joint box. So you can come in here and have a quick view in here, and you can say I want to look in this way. View depth, 2 foot, 2 foot. I should have just went with the 3 feet, right? Because I'm going to be too small probably. Yeah, but that's all right. So now you can see it. That's just a quick view. But it always seems to switch my UCS for some reason, which is really annoying. I don't know why that is. It's really strange. So I don't think that's the way my UCS was, right? So let me turn everything back on again. Now, maybe my UCS was like that. That's just strange. Alright, so what I'm going to do instead is we're going to come in here, go to your Project Explorer, which is handy. Oh, sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. Project Explorer, and you have all your stuff in here, right? You have all your queries and everything, whatever you want in here. So you can have groups, show all elements. So what I want to do is I want to create a new model view, and I'm going to create a joint box, and I'm going to create a disjoint box, and I'm going to call it base connection. And we'll call it base connection 1 because it's the one we're going to work off of, and we're going to look in this direction. So now when I double click on that, now I can get a real close-up view of that. You know, you can make that bigger if you want. And now that's there for the project. So you can see it's going to be up here, model views, and you can see base connection is turned on. So now if I go back into this connection, so we can see plates, stiffeners, right? So we have full stiffeners on flanges and corner finish welds. So the problem I find with this is not going to work for me because it's giving me fillet welds all around, but it's not giving me the option of in the shop or on the site. And these are existing beams. So this really is for on the top end. So look, there's another connection I should be using for this. But what I do is I'll go in here and I will not do the stiffeners. And I'll come back to my connection vault, and you can go in and find that it's in here, I think miscellaneous or somewhere. Here's stiffeners. Select that existing beam. I'm going to select that edge over there, and it's going to put in some stiffeners. They don't look right because they're not right. So parameters, I'm going to make them 3/8 stiffeners, and I'm going to put top, which is where I want it, in line with that, and I'm going to make it value full. So full value, offset plate to beam. So you can see that's number 3. So it's going to give me a space. So if I look in this direction here, you can see there's a space here and a space here. So you want that. You don't want to make these the exact right size. So now we just need to check the welds, right? So let's go to parameters, width of plate. Actually, that's the problem I have in here as well. I still don't have, it still doesn't give me the option, right? So it's not giving me the option of changing my welds. So what I can do is double weld, corner finish straight, that's fine. Double fillet weld, that's fine. Flanges, double fillet weld. Alright, the other thing is you want to check your corner value, setback 0. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to close that out, and I'm going to select all these welds. Advanced properties, and change that to site. Now I could have done this the first time too, actually, so I'm just forgetting myself a little bit. So now come back in here and go to, sorry, where am I going? Sorry, here, selection, and you want to click on this one here, remove marking and display objects connected in the shop. And you can see that nothing is connected to that existing beam in the shop. So that's good. Whereas if I click on this column, you can see that that plate is connected. If you want to select everything that's highlighted, then it will just show you those when you orbit, which is really handy. So everything looks good there, happy enough with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy, this is the point of the stiffeners to move them. So if you try to connect, let me see if I can copy this one. If I copy this, and I want to copy from here in the X direction, so I'm going to limit it in the X direction over to here. You can see it just copies that one stiffener. So if you connect that orbit ball, I guess the location, that's the location mark, and then if you copy that from the outside of here, limit it in the X direction, it'll copy everything, right? So now you have your stiffeners in, so you can remove that. Now you can try, you can you can try to propagate this joint by right clicking here, propagate joint. Now I should have zoomed out because you can see it's put in those joints, but I really don't like to do that, so I'm going to back out at. I don't like to do that because sometimes it'll put a joint over a joint, and that's definitely because you won't be able to see it, so it can create problems down the road. It's just not worth it in my opinion. So I'm just going to I'm just going to go in and click on part of the joint, and then copy it as a family member, let's call it, so that if I change one of them, they will all change. Now, I probably should have left the stiffeners in this joint, but it's fine. Let's click on that column. Let's change its back to a square, and this red arrow here on the selection will deselect whatever you had selected or highlighted. So now we got to copy the stiffeners, so let's just copy here and here, and let's copy here, and we can just do from the node of the column, and you can see it'll copy those in. So they'll all be standalone parts, because obviously they're existing beams. Now also we want to put a hole in the concrete, right? So go back to isolate and end object isolation. And we want to come in here and put a hole in the concrete. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the features here. Now before I would have drawn all these concrete as just solids, but I'm trying to get in the practice of using the concrete. So click on this here, and I'm just gonna see my UCS is changed. I don't know. My UCS is behaving weird. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or what's happening. Alright, so let's go back. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select the outside of the plate as the hole in the concrete. And what you can do is you can contour it. Now if you want to contour it another 0.5 inches, it gets bigger a little bit. If you want to choose how far it cuts into the concrete, you have this option here. So you can have it just going maybe, what is that, 3 inches? So 3 inches will take it out the top of the concrete, but you're not going through the bottom of the concrete. Or you can do 3 inches down the bottom, and that'll take you out the bottom of the concrete exactly. Or you can just leave them off. Alright. So that's good. So that's a feature that I can copy. Now we can also match properties with the features if you want to try this. Just as we're doing it. Let's select there. So let's select the outside of these plates. Contour, and let's say -2. So this is a way smaller hole, right? This is the main part of the hole, so I can't go, you can see, there it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to match properties, and I should be able to match properties with this. In case I make a hole the wrong size, and we can go back and resize them all. You can see it's resized that hole. So then you can also select that hole and go here and go to advanced copy. And just go from that node and then copy these holes around so you have holes in your concrete. And sometimes you have to tell it what it's copying, but it'll tell you at the bottom. So click, it's not sure what I want to cut, select corresponding element, so it highlights what it thinks you want, then just click on it. I think you can also just press enter or the right mouse button, but for now let's just do it this way. Alright, so that's good. So what I'm going to do now is we can do the same connection for up here. Now the only thing is we need to check these bolts, right? So if I can't remember which one of these is the main, is the mother joint. It used to be the master slave, but we can't call it that anymore, so I guess we'll call it the mother daughter. So it is this one, but if I go to the next one and click on the bolts and right click, we can see I can upgrade this to master. So if I can't remember, let's just upgrade that to master. Go back in and let's go my bolts, and bolt and hole. We can see the bolt inverted. So the bolt is going to go to site with this beam. That's not what I want. So I want to invert that bolt. So I'll have the bolt going down, so it'll be on the column drawn. So that will have switched all those bolts to down, as you can see. These ones are the same, all to down. But I also want to check where are these bolts, being put in. So slotted part none, stiffeners, fill a weld. Okay. So let's see, it's not giving me the option inside, but these are site bolts, which you can change here if you want. So I'm going to change these to site drill. So now just go and check these other ones to see if they also changed. Sorry, click on the bolt, and you can see it has also changed to site drill. So we want to site drill those bolts. Now that's good. Alright, so we're getting somewhere. We'll keep going. Alright, so up here now we have our beams. We're going to copy one of these connections. So let's grab this. Let's copy it, but we don't want to copy it as part of a relationship. We're just going to copy it on its own, and it'll be singular joint. And this is going to be the main beam, and this is the passing beam. I'm not going to worry about stiffeners here. I'm not going to get into that. But you can see it's put in the joint the same way as down below. Now, I don't want these bolts to go with this column, and I don't want them to be site drilled. So let's open this, Advanced Joint Properties. And let's go to the bolts and holes, and let's uninvert the bolts so that are going to be attached to the beam, because the head is on top of the beam. Then close it out, then go in here and change these to site bolts, because I'm not going to drill this on site. Now also, when you're inside in this joint, with any joints, you can go to the library, you can save the values, and you can see it's here after NOS, and then edit. You come in here and delete any of these you want. So I can delete that one. Now we'll come in here, and what was this called again? Platform, I guess. And do this for any of them. Now the problem is when you go to a different computer, they won't be saved. So just be aware of that. So okay, there it is when I want to use it again. So now good practice would be to copy this across, or we can, let's put in another joint and see what happens. Now that I've saved this, it'll come in, it should come in, it should recognize the sections, and it should use that joint I just saved. You can see it has used it, it's the one that's highlighted, and you can see it's there, but there's no relationship between the two joints. Now, if it came in with one of these by accident, the beauty of it is you can just go and click on the platform and it'll switch it back to those values. Now that's not the way I want to do it. I'm going to go in here, I'm going to select one part of this and delete it, and I will delete it all. If you just delete the joint box, then you have to delete every little thing, which is a pain, because what'll happen is you'll delete that, then you'll delete that, then you'll delete this, and then you'll have to go and delete the welds, and then you'll be like, oh, why is my column so short? Then you'll have to click on that, and you'll have to change the presentation of that until you can see that, and then you'll delete that feature, and then you'll be back to where you were. Instead, just grab this one and come up here and copy it in a relationship. That's it. Alright, so we're getting somewhere now. So as you can see, I need these to be a little bit longer. I'm going to use 4-inch clips out here. So what I should actually do is, visually it might be better to extend this beam. So what I can do is extend this 10 inches, because I want to go 5 either way. So I generally will go 10. The beam is still highlighted. Then I'll right click and then just move it back 5 inches. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So we're okay. So now we're going to put some clip angles in here. So we're going to go back here and just do a single clip angle. If I can't find it. Sorry, I wasn't scrolled all the way up, that's why. So clip angle, and click the main beam and then the secondary beam, and it's going to come in with something. Now you can see I have created ones before, but it hasn't selected anything. So let's go. If it's weird. The library is usually at the top. For this, it's not. It's down here. So it's not coming in with any of those. So what I want to do is I want to set all my values for this. This is what I do at the start in case this beam is going into another 10 by 33, which it is, but only for double connections. So it's slightly different in this case. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this Advanced Joint Properties, or else double click on the box, and I'm going to go to clip angle. Right, it's a 4x4x3/8. That's good. The cut back is a 1/2 inch. That's fine on this beam. Sometimes I'll change that to 3/4. and the cuts are fine. The clip weld, none, that's fine. Now you can switch. You're not going to do this unless there's a reason they don't want to see bolts outside. You can weld it here if you want. I'm not going to do that. Generally, we don't do that. So none. And then I'm going to go top cope. So we're going to go from main flange. Half is probably enough for this size beam. Now, this is annoying. These stay up here sometimes, so just move this out of the way. Now, you don't want this to come in with the K distance. You want to do, I like to do inside of secondary, but you have to be careful in case the main beam gets too big. If you do inside of secondary, you can have, some of your beams will be the same, so you'll have less piece details. That's kind of the goal there. So you can have a look and see we're a ½ inch, but a lot of times we'll make this 0.75 at the top. So whatever you want. But you don't need to do the bottom right now, right? Because it's a larger beam. But the problem is, if you forget this later and you copy this over, you might have a clash on the bottom that you won't notice. So I think it's good to go to the bottom cope and do the same thing inside secondary, 0.75. Okay, you can't see anything changes, but after you save this, it'll be good for the next joint. So bolt parameters, I want it to be a TC bolt, and I want the main to be sight and the secondary to be shop. That's good. I don't want to invert any bolts. I don't need to. Angle back 2.5, 2.5. That's good. Vertical bolts 3 inches down. That's good. 2.5 inch start. 3 center, 1.5 inch bottom. That's good. Slotted holes. You might want to make slotted holes, right? Obviously, it's a little more difficult to do slot holes in the beams. You can punch slots in the clips pretty easy, but you don't really want to slot clips generally. Some of my clients do it, but I don't recommend it. But you could slot the beam if you want. So now let's put a slot in the main beam. You don't want to slot the main beam, right? So I don't want to do that. So secondary beam, let's slot that secondary beam, 1.25 inches. So let's just do that. We'll just put a slot in there. It doesn't really matter. Alright, so now we're getting to where we want to be. So I'm going to copy this. Now, you guys copy these whatever way you want. This is how I copy it. I'll copy these slowly, one at a time, even if it is a larger model. So I'll close out that and come in here and copy this. So I'm going to go here. I know these are the same size beams because obviously this is a small project. And copy them around. Some people don't like to do this because they don't have patience. I don't have patience, but I like to not have to go back and fix these later. So you can see they're all part of a joint group now. So if I click on this, you can see it's looking to upgrade it to master. So it's part of a group. Alright, so you can see these two on the end are going to be bigger, right? Because they're 12-inch beams. So I'm going to copy this over to here. And I'm going to come in here and advanced joint properties. And I'm going to do vertical bolts. And I'm going to switch that to 3. So that's 3 bolts. Just give it an all orbit. Have a look. Make sure it looks okay. Looks fine. So that's good. So we'll copy that one over. So click on the box. Now obviously this is fairly basic stuff. So not getting too technical here. So I'm going to copy that as part of a group. And did I already select it? Yeah, select the main beam. Passing beam. Okay. Alright, so now we're getting somewhere. So we just need to do the connections in the middle, right? So what I'm going to do is I got to do double connection. So it's probably good practice to do one of these and then go straight to do your double connection if it's the same size beams. So what I'll do is go straight over here and I select this one and then I'll go left. Oh, sorry, I forgot I switched, right? This one is the one that we split. So this is where the double connections are going to be. So let's start on this end and this is going to be the main beam and then go left and then go right. It's going to come in here with some crazy looking thing that doesn't work, so that's fine. And you can see now my library is here for this one, and the other one is at the bottom, so it's a little weird. So there is settings here for different sizes of beams and everything, which I won't get into, but I might have a quick look at, I guess. But so my cleats are the same for both, so 4x4x3/8, so that's good. Cutback is 1/2 inch, that's what I had on the other one. So cutback's 1/2 inch, so keep them the same. So copes. Now you have a lot of copes here, so what you're going to want to do is, from main flange, I had this as 0.5 before. So if you want the beams to stay the same, put this at 0.5. And I had this at 0.75 inside a secondary, so that's good. Go here, main flange, inside secondary, 0.5. 2.5. Radius 1/2. 0.5. Top one is 0.5, right? Did I do them all right now? So let's see. No, did this one wrong. Not paying attention. Trying to think a couple of moves ahead. I've done them all wrong. Oh, Friday night. UFC tomorrow night, so I'll be drinking tomorrow night. Alright, so 1/2 inch at the top, and then 3/4 inch inside. Alright. See, it jumps up and down when you go from the top to the bottom, so sometimes I mess that up. The bolts, TC bolts is good. Side, shop, that's good. So let's just go down and fix this one first. So I want to go to vertical bolts, change that to 2. Alright, that looks better already, right? Now, if you have different size beams, you need to go to the staggered setting. So horizontal bolts, let's check them, 2.5, that's good. Horizontal bolts main, 2.5, that's good. So go to staggered setting. Angle staggered. Same side 2. You can see it shortens it by 1 bolt because it says 1 bolt. Now if I do the vertical bolts at 3, it'll make this 2. And then if I make this to shorten it by 2, it'll make it 2. And you can switch the sides also. So in case you have different size beams, just keep that in mind. So I am going to do none, and I'm going to go back to vertical and change that to 2, and that's what I want. Then I'm going to go back to properties, library. I do this for each job. I don't think a lot of people do. I think most people have their set up. I like to do it every job because I'm a moron. Probably. So platform job, okay. Alright, so now that's in there. So we can probably try and propagate this if you want. So let's right click, propagate joint. See, I can see that coming in, but I'm still nervous that it's somewhere else, but it's not possible, right? So you can go back and check, delete that. You can see there are the only 2 joints there. So why don't I'll just leave them in for now, but I do not use them. So it's up to you if you want to use them or not, obviously. So now we're getting somewhere, right? So let's go to shaded, and you can see we have something. You can see in there, concrete. We got our existing steel. I'm not going to put in any columns. You'll know how to do that. So right now we have our platform, and we're good to go. Let me see. I don't know how far we're in here. So we're probably a while in. I'm wondering if I should do this video in parts, or I should just keep going and just do one big long video. Just save myself the torture of trying to upload a couple of different videos. So what I'll do is, I can probably do a little bit more here. So let me do a little bit more, and I'll keep going. So what we'll do now is we'll do the handrail on the top, and we'll do some grating up here. Alright, so we'll keep going. So this is really annoying here. I don't know how you get rid of it apart from shutting down. Let's see if I just minimize it, and you can see I'm recording now for how long. Might as well have a look. Over an hour. Alright, so let's go back. And it's gone. Alright, so that was useful. Another tip, just minimize it and open it again. Alright, so we're going to put some grating in here. And we're just going to assume that the grating is going to be able to take the weight across this span, which it's not going to be able to, right? So let's be realistic there. That's a 10-foot gap. I don't think the grating is good for that, but let's just put it in anyway. Alright, so for one, you want to move the UCS. So let's go to advanced settings, let's go to your UCS, and let's move the UCS. We're going to move it up here onto the platform. Bang. Then we're going to go to objects, and I go to variable, so put in variable grating, and we can come here and so it comes in this god awful color, which I haven't changed, and we're going to change it to 1.5 by 1/8, 19W4. You can see the width of the grating is 5 feet, and I'll make that 3 feet. So now you can see I'm a foot off here, so I'm 10 feet long, so that's fine. Use standard hatch, that's fine. As you can see, you can't see the grating here, so there is a setting for that, which I should have already set up in my prototype, but I don't, and I'm trying to think of what the value is. John Bennett has it. There's a hatch scale. You know what? I'm going to have a quick look while we're here. Let's see what rubbish was on YouTube. And let's see. Hatch setting. Advanced steel. John Bennett. Not sure if that'll find it, but it might. Setting the hatch. That's not it either. No, but that's another interesting article. You know what? I'm not going to finish this video tonight. I can't think of it. Oh, what was it? Hatch, if I could spell hatch right. Hatch setting in model. There's a value you need to set. Master adding, that's not it. Hatch applied. I'll find it. I have it written down somewhere. I just can't remember it off the top of my head. It's not reference, but it's something like that, and then you have to put in a value of 1. That's the same one I just went into, right? Yeah, it's the same one. Damn, that's going to annoy me now. So, alright, let's not worry about it. Doesn't really matter. So let's change that aggressive color for 1. So I also have my my layers up here. Let's go in and change this color to something a little bit easier on the eye, right? Alright, so let's move this over. I'm not going to get into distances too much, so I'm going to just leave it on the centers of the beams, right? And then I'm going to copy it over. So let's go into that first before we copy it, make sure everything is right, grating. And, you know, we could put this on lot 2 if we want. So this will number this different depending on what way you set it up. So you can also come in here and you can select all your beams and your columns and anything that's associated them. Oh, I definitely don't want to move that. And I just press escape there to get out of that. Advanced properties, you can see it won't show you a model roll because I've selected columns and beams, and then we'll do lot phase of 1 for that, and tick the box so it takes that into account for your numbering. Alright, so now the beams and the columns are on phase 1 and the grating will be on phase 2. So let's copy this over this way, and we want to copy that 10 feet. And now let's use, I'm not going to leave a space between, I'm not going to worry about that. You can leave a little space. You can make these 10 foot or 9 foot 11 and 3/4 and leave a ½ inch space or whatever you want. So come in here, you're going to go to the advanced copy. This is a super useful tool here, especially for polar array, mirroring, any of those things. Really, really useful. So I want to go in the -y direction. So in the -y direction of -3 feet. So 36 inches. And the number of copies. So I have one there, and the platform was 30 feet long, plus an overhang on the end of 5 feet. So that would be 35 feet. So it would be 36 feet of grading. Minus the 1 would be 33 foot of grating, so it should be 11. And then preview, and you can see it lays it out to over here. Alright, so that's good. Okay, or you can do modify, and you can go 10. And if you put 10 in, then you can, I pressed return there, so it just totally closed me out and ran the command. And if you want to copy 2 more, then you can just do them manually like this. Now just be careful when you're copying stuff with giants that a lot of times you're better to just use the regular Autodesk copy if you're renumbering stuff. But that's for a more advanced video. Alright, so we can see our grating is too long here, so we want to cut the grating. So come into the features here. We're going to cut this grating. I'm going to cut it from the center of that beam over till there, and then I want to run that again. I don't want to have any positioning. I can change how far it's cut through, or if there's a contour. Now you can see it's got an extra ½ inch there. I don't want to do that, so do 0. You can see my graphics is a bit screwed up there on my laptop. And then I'm going to do the same command again from this corner here over to here, and that's good. Now you can turn off those features if you want by also selecting 2 of those. It's actually annoying me now that I haven't got this hatch set up properly in my drawing. It's on my mind as I'm doing the rest of this. So let's go back in here. I'm actually going to go back and look for it now for a second. So I turned off the feature, right? So what you can do is, let's do select similar, and we'll just change it to basic. So if you go back in and check the behavior, you can see, the display type, it's just set to standard. Standard is fine for that, so we'll just leave that as standard. Now we're working in shaded, which I generally don't work in, so we'll go back to the 2D in a minute. So we want to put railings on this, so let's do some railings. First we're going to figure out where the stairs is going to be. So let's line out for the stairs, and we'll cut this. We'll have to change this later. So let's say I'm going to put the stairs over here somewhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. It's too difficult to work in shaded, so you'll get used to working. At the start it seems weird working in 2D, but so the space here was 10 feet, so let's go 5 feet. That's going to be the center of my stairs, right? So I'm going to put a circle there just so I know that's the center. Just going to draw a 2-inch circle. Okay, so that's the center of my stairs. So I'm going to make the stairs 4 feet wide, and then the handrail I'll put on top of the stringer, and in the center. So then I'll move another post over 4 inches. So what I'm going to do is 2'4" either side. So I'll just copy this over, 2'4" or 28 inches, which is 2 keystrokes instead of 3. 2'4", and yeah, instead of 3. So that's where my handrail is going to start. So you can try and be greedy and try and do a handrail the whole way around, but it's probably not going to work for you. But we'll try it. Let's give it a shot. So let's go to home. Extended modeling and handrail. So let's select this beam and let's select this beam, and we'll just try 3 of them and we'll see what happens. So I want this to be my start point on the center of that circle, and I want this to be my end point. And I'm going to put my end point as, I guess, the top of that column. And I do want to select a nosing point relative to the start point. Or do I? It's up to you. So it just means you'll have to work the 1.5 inches out yourself otherwise. So I'll say yes. And I'll say I want the nosing point to be the top of the grading, which is up 1.5 inches. Now I know I'm going to end up doing something wrong here when I'm doing this handrail, but let's have a look at it. So it's come in with a weird handrail that I did on another job. And you can see it's actually coming pretty good on those 3 railings. You know, it's almost worth trying to see if it'll go the whole way around. So let's just see. Generally it doesn't go the whole way around, but let's see what happens. We'll try it. So let's select that beam, this beam, this beam, this beam, and back to that beam. So we want the start point to be here. This is where it's going to get confused, right? Because we're going from here back over to here. And we'll do yes for nosing, and we'll select here. It's probably going to be some sort of gobbledygook, I imagine, but maybe. It made a fist of it, but it just can't get back onto this beam, I guess. So for now, we'll work with what we have, right? So that's pretty good. We can't complain too much, right? So it's a weird rail that I used on another job, and obviously the hang-off rail is on the wrong side. We're not necessarily going to want one, but maybe we'll put one on just for the laugh. So if we go to the library, we can see we have a lot in here. So I can, rail 1 is going to switch these to all different things. Takes a second because it's a long enough rail. So, and I'm also on the laptop. You can hear the fan going, trying to keep me running. So there now you have a handrail that looks a little different. So firstly we want to check the height. So this is something close to what we want, right? So check the height. So let's go to the posts first, actually. So the posts are 1.5 inches by 1/4. That's fine. That's what I want to use. Schedule 40. Post layout. So we have all sorts of things here. Preferred distance 1 and 2. Yes. So these are the distances. So do I want the distance to start the first post at 1? Not for this one. So let's do 0. We'll do 0. So what you can do now is the base point. So you can move the start point. So there's 2 different ways of doing this. So you can move the start point, right? So you can move the end point by 5. And it'll move it out that way. So let's say you want to go -5. So if I do that, so I want to keep this back from the corner. So let's say I want to keep it back 12 inches. But the problem is, if I keep that back 12 inches, I don't have the posts here or the top and middle rail to make the corner. So I'm going to make this 0, and I'm going to move the end last post. So it's a plus value. So it's moving it in. I don't, so it's opposite. So if you want to move this, it's -12 to go that way. But if you want the distance from the end post, it's this one. So you can see the middle handrail is not working. So what you want to do is have a look. Come down here to handrail. And Here it is here, extra length last post. You can do length, which will allow you to set a value here. So you can do -5. Well, that's not what I want, right? I just want 0. So I just want 0 to make the corner. So that's going to go to the corner, hopefully. I'm not sure where it terminated, but yeah, it terminated there. So the other thing is these cuts are not right because nobody's cutting these like that and trying to weld them like that. So go to post and middle handrail, and you want to do cut variable, and you want to do this 2 value here. We generally set to like 1/4 inch. So it just means that's all the guy gets, and this is filled with weld. So 1/4 inch, some guys do a little bit more, so we'll just leave it at 1/4 inch, but just keep in mind that's what you want to do there. That's the way the tops are already automatically cut. So now it doesn't look terrible. Look, you can get into whatever way you want to do this yourself. I have the post starting where I want it to start. This has been an issue for a while where Advanced Steel doesn't do the end connections properly. If I go to handrail, end of handrail, knee joint, you can see it messes it up here. Now the radius is too big. If I do 1.5, it's still messed up. So you do miter cut, it'll do a miter cut, but we don't want a miter cut there, so I don't know if there's a fix for that. So what I do is I just either explode it afterwards and put in the connection, or sometimes I'll just put in the connection over this, which is probably not good practice, but it does work. Alright, so now what we want to do is we want to check our height, right? So let's double click on this. So we're going to check our height, and we also want to check our offset because it's on the center of the beam. But do we want it on the center of the beam? We might have to put it on the center of the beam because we created it the whole way around. So let's just see posts, post alignment, top, post alignment from edge, offset 2 inches. Now, hopefully it's offset them all out. It doesn't always, as far as I know. Yeah, it did. I thought this last one might have been offset in. No, it should offset in the right direction. Maybe that's just, I'm just not remembering correct. Now, it's a little near to the edge, but might be okay. Maybe we'll change that to 1.75. I'm not going to get into splitting these handrails or anything. I'm just going to model in a handrail. So let's check. We want to do the handrail. We want to do the top handrail, right? So distance from the top of the beam. You can see this is to the center, and it's not from the nosing. So switch that, and you'll see this will pop up to the top. So now it should be, let's just check it. So let's go up here, distance from this corner to the top. Should be that one, only kind of guessing. It's 3'4.5", which is right because I didn't change the from nosing. So let's see. So handrail, and then click on this. You'll see this will pop up 1.5 inches. Okay, there it's gone up 1.5 inches. You can add all sorts of connections and everything down here, but generally we just weld these to the top of the beams. You can have these removable. You can go here, post connection. You can have welds, plate and bolts, whatever you want here. A lot of plate and bolts. So let's see if they fit. They'll fit. So let's put a plate and the bolts for the laugh. Alright, so we'll leave the plate and bolts. And sorry, give it a second. Alright, so the other thing we want to do is the middle connection. So let's go handrail, middle handrail horizontal. So I want it down 1'9" because I'm 3'6" to the top. So this is a guardrail, so it's 3'6", and distance between the axis should be correct. So it's going to be 1'6" from here to here. Now, what you want to do is handrail slope. Go in and check that, because if you're going to use this on the stairs later, it'll be already set up before you save it. I don't think anyone uses this. Maybe use it for a ship's ladder or something like that. So for now, that's pretty good. What I'm going to do is we might see about a hang off rail. So create a grab rail. It'll take a second, obviously, and it's created on the outside, so I want to have it on the inside. It's not much use to me on the outside. Of course, they don't know that, because I could have a platform outside. It'll take a second again, because it's got to redraw all this handrail. So, as slow as you might think it is, it's a lot faster than having to do it yourself. So you can see you have some issues here you'd have to clean up yourself. And you can check these are all one piece, right? So you want to go to grab connector, round bar 1/2 inch, distance from access, height. These cuts, do you really need this cut like this? Not really. I want to use a poly beam, yeah. So corner type, curved. So that's when we get into the corners here. Or I guess not. Now why it's saying it was curved, but it's actually in as a miter. I just changed it to miter. Oh, sorry, that's the corner of that, yeah, sorry. So let's change that to curved. Sorry, took a second. I was wondering, I'm not thinking straight. Alright, so, and the position, and so we'll just go through these, because it's kind of easy enough to go through them yourself, but I just have this set to 3 and 3. This should really be a correct value, so make sure you have enough hand room in at the back. Position, so I want to have it the 1 value, so from distance from the bottom, so I'm going to do distance from top. Obviously I don't want it 3 feet down, right, so it's going to go 3 feet. So I just again have to give it a second, and it'll be all the way down here somewhere, and then I'll change it back to down 6 inches. Now the problem you're going to have here is, do I want it down 6 inches? Because it's going to go from the top of the rail to the center of this handrail. So it's really down 5 foot, or 5 and whatever, 1/16. So what I want to do is make this 5 and 15/16. So I have to take 15/16 away for this pipe. So it's going to be 5 and 1/16. That should be right. Not going to worry about it too much. I'm not going to start measuring it or anything. So a second, and there you go. It moved, and now it's in. All right. So we'll do a quick check on it and see what it is. Sorry, it's just regenerating there for some reason. There's just a bit going on here. Generally, I'll draw lines that I can look at. So I'm down 4 and 1/8. So that's a little weird. Oh, so I was supposed to add. So if it's 6 inches to there, I was supposed to add on the 15/16, right? Yeah, I was supposed to add on the 15/16. So let's just add it on one time, and then we'll move on. I won't remeasure it. So let's do 6 and 15/16. All right, we'll leave it at that, and then I just want to take that round part off the top, actually. So because it's important to click this as a polyline, because nobody's going to make this with 3 parts, right? So these were coming in as 3 parts for me at the start, and it was driving me crazy because I was forgetting. Excuse me. I'm going to get a drink of water. Alright, so connection type. So you can see you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 is a weld size, and where is 2? 2 is inner cut is 0, so that's just going to be a cut. So weld size and inner cut 0, workshop miter. So 4, inner cut should be 0 on the top as well, but it's not. Anyway, let me not get into it. So grab rail to grab rail. Alright, that's miter. You could do curved for that, sorry. So grab rail to grab rail. Connector to grab rail is the one you want. Aligned, I think I'd switch this to aligned, was what it was. And cut of no, that's not it. Should be that 4 value for some reason. Alright, I'm not going to worry about it. Like I said, don't want to get too dragged into this. And it's interesting, it's not doing the grab rail to grab rail. I did curved radius of 1/2 inch, so maybe it's just too small a radius there. Let's see if that changes that radius. A lot of times I draw these manually, to be honest. Sometimes I find it easier. So let's see. Alright, so that's it. So really I would have this at probably 1.5, so let's change it to 1.5. It's going to be a long video anyway, so I guess why worry about another couple of seconds. Alright. So what we're going to do is then we're going to save this one. Alright, so let's save this, and let's not worry about these corners for now, or at all, I guess. And here we need to rejoin this one. So grab rail end. So the grab rail end here, we want to do sorry, now it's taking a little longer than expected. So there's a return there, or you can do a loop. So let's see what the loop is. Generally, I'll just draw in a connection manually afterwards. I'll just leave it short, or just leave it the way it was. So, see, on one of them there's a return. I don't know. I'm not going to get into it. It's going to be, there's a bit of tricking around afterwards to get these kind of right. So, generally you might have to explode. I generally explode them anyway, but I'll have the joints saved. So, we might as well get into it, I suppose. So, what I'll do now is we'll say we're pretty good right where we are, even though we're probably not perfect, but let's move on with it. So go back to properties, library, save values, don't forget to name it, edit, it's after Hicksville, so let's look for Hicksville, platform 1, okay, so now that's saved. Just give it a second. Alright, so now I'm going to do another handrail on this beam from this point to this point. I do want to pick a nosing point. Now, I forgot to show you, I guess I could go back, but this one here, you can also tick the box in the posts here, post layout, to calculate distance for each beam, and it would do each beam separately, which you can also do, which is a good option too. So you can see this did not come in with the one I just created, so let's go into the library and come down here on platform 1, and it should change this. Now everything is the right direction, but my start and my finish need to be changed, right? So let's have a look at my start and my finish. So let's go to shaded, and you really don't see it too much better there anyway, but let's see. So we're going to go in here and we're going to go to posts and post layout, and we're going to switch this to 0, and this one we're going to switch to 12. So we've moved this in from the corner, and we've moved this. Let's call that good enough. Now we never extended the other end of this, so now we have to go back and fix that. So we want to go to handrail, middle rail, or sorry, posts. That's good. So we want to come in here, and this one is going to last post, and the end, total length 0, and it'll bring it back over to the corner. Oh, sorry. Oh, I don't want it to be total length, right? I want it to be length. Yeah, alright, it comes in as -1. I want to change that to 0. Alright, there, now it gets back to the corner again. So we're not right at the corner, but why are we not right? Oh yeah, because we're offset here 1.5 inches, so that's fine. Alright, so happy enough with that. Grab rail is there, everything is fine. That'll do us. So what we do now is, let's say we're happy with that, we don't want to change anything. Save your model, so save it. Then I will also go to save as, and instead of doing save as, I'll just copy this, paste it, rename it, and then I'll have the point from which I exploded, before I exploded the handrails, 7/2/2022. Save. Oh, I don't want to save it because I've already just renamed that. So cancel out of that and cancel out of that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to explode this. So just delete that joint box, delete this joint box, and now you can just put in this connection. So if I come in here, and if you go down here to miscellaneous, you can get the handrail joint. If you select this and this, it'll just put that in over that other one. It'll override those, but you might come up with a clash later on. So what you're as well off to do now that you have the joint exploded is come in here. You're gonna delete this and this because we don't need this either anymore. And you're gonna come in here and select this one and do the same over here. Go back in here. Now I'm getting a little technical here, but it might help some people out, and some people might tell me this is I'm doing it the wrong way, but this used to work, this end connection inside in the macro, but I don't know if it's a value I have wrong inside in the macro, or I know some other people had the same issue. So go back in here and use the rail and joint connection. can see there's still a weld in there that I should have erased. Delete that weld. Come back in here, handrail fix 1.5 inches. That's what I want it as. So we'll do the same up here. So we can just copy this one. And generally I'll copy these separately, so on their own they'll just be separate entities. And then come over here, and I want to join this one to this one, and I want to join this one to this one. Now you just got to be careful what these welds are, because these ones here now are not going to be proper, right? So let's escape out of that. And we're not going to split this right here in the corner anyway. We're going to split it over here somewhere probably. So we would want both of these to be shop welds, so that's fine. And then we'll go and split the handrail later. So select that, copy it again down here. So now there you go, you got your handrail. The problem you're going to have is when you come in here. Now you can split this up in the macro, but there you go. You're not going to make that in the shop, right? So that's kind of weird. So you're like, where am I going to split this? And this one is not connected. You can see that. That was inside in the macro. Something I did wrong. So what I'll do is, oh, you know what? This was joining it, so I deleted that. So if I come in here, this can be a shop weld. And this one can be a shop weld. Okay, now when I redo it, you can see that's good, right? So what I'm going to do over here is I'm just going to do this in this video long anyway. Probably nobody watching anyway. So just keeping myself amused. Like I got nothing better to do. Yeah, getting a little crazy. Starting to talk to myself. 3 inches. Match properties. This doesn't always work with pipes. It did work that time. So I'm going to move this down to the grab rail in the Z direction. Alright, so that's good. And then we're going to go here and we're going to copy that joint from here to here. And now we're going to put a joint here. So we're going to go down here, put this joint, and we're going to select the end that's going to be modified. I'm going to select the post. And you can see it comes in automatically because I have it set up that way. So now it's going to cut in there. And then we want to do the same. Now, foolishly, I should have copied this over first. But why don't we just try something and see if this will work. This is not something I generally do. But let's try and copy this over here. So let's go into our advanced copy. And let's mirror. Let's include connections. And let's select objects. I want to copy this piece of pipe, this piece of pipe. And we shouldn't need to select the welds. Okay. And we want to select the mirror points. So my mirror points, I want to be the midpoint between 2 points, which should be the center of this circle. And the center of this circle. And then go this way, click there, preview. And there you go. It looks pretty good, right? So it's copied it over. So let's make sure that all our welds are right and everything. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Now, the other thing you want here is you probably want to select all the beams here. So let's go to beam properties. And let's do naming. And they all have different names. Some of them are going to be posts. I'm going to do lot phase of 3. And now they'll be numbered with a lot phase of 3. And now you want to split them. right? So we're going to split them. So what we'll do is we'll split them here. So I'll split them quickly. So let's split them and see what we got. You'll have to add a couple of welds afterwards, but so we'll split this. We can't split it obviously on the center of the beam, so we'll split it here on the center of this. So we can make that one piece, I guess. Alright, so we'll split it here. So let's split the beam. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, and we're going to split that on the center point. That's the center point of the grating, but that'll do. So you can see it split those beams. So now if I check this, it's got that one there, okay? So that's good. And now what's the second one? We're going to split this one over here somewhere, right? So let's split it on the center point here. So let's split here, and we want to split it on this center point. Now you want to check this one and see where it's going. So go back over here. And that's okay, it's selected it all again. So you have that one, that's good. And then we're going to split it over here. So let's go and split this 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then we're going to select that one. See what we got there. And that's good. Okay. So far so good. So let's split these ones over here in the same place as those ones over there. Split, and where is the split? Right there. Bang. Alright, so split that there. And then we'll do one more split over here. 1, 2, 3. Now you can try and do this inside in the macro, but you're just better off to get out of it. Once you have it saved, you can go back and recreate it pretty easy if you have to. So don't worry about it too much. So there you go. So now we have the handrail created in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. So what I like to do then is, this is just something I've been doing lately. I'm not even sure if it's the right thing to do, to be honest with you, but I'll go and select the top rail here, and top rail here, top rail here, top rail here, and let's make sure we do the top rail there, and top rail there, and then I'll right click, advanced beam properties, naming, define as main part, and then I think when I number that should be the main part. So I'm kind of hoping that's the case. So if you want to check it out, I guess let's do, actually we should be able to check now that it's defined as the main part. If we go to output and this one, mark main part of assembly, you can see it's come in as that top one. If we do it again, top one. So before I used not to define that part, and generally it would give you that part, but it wouldn't always. It might give you the grab rail if it's longer, I think. So then what I want to do is, if we select this first one, this is how I do it now. Some people will select all these and number them. That's not how I do it. I do it this way, and you can see method prefix. I'll come in here and I will add the lot phase in here, apply, okay. And it's 3R1, so because it's R1 but it's on lot phase 3, right? So then I will now pick these two because the posts will be similar, and then I'll number again. And people say, well, this is kind of wasting time, do you really care about the numbers that much? And I guess my answer would be yes, I do care about the numbers that much. So numbering, okay, again, and so on, but it's already highlighted, so just click here. Now it's selected. Now you can see there's an issue here. oh no, that's because I just clicked on that, sorry. And I go here, same again, that's selected, numbering, okay, and so on. It's going to keep going, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, and I will just do them all now that I'm doing it. Now, you could just as easily number these and have them come in as 1, 3, 5. I used to work on site for 15 years and that would drive me crazy. I'm like, why is the guy giving me these numbers arseways? But some people care, some people don't, I guess. Just little things like that bother me, like I'm still thinking about that hatch on the grating. Maybe it's because it's late at night. So now they're all numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 around in that order. So what I'll do is we will now pick the grating and select similar because that's all I have in this model, and I will then do numbering. There's no other grating, so I just need to pick them, and there's 2 shorter ones at the front, so that's why it has numbered the main ones as GR1, so a 2 in front of it for the lot phase, and then the 2 on the outside. Now later on I'm probably going to extend this one out to meet the stairs, and then it'll change from this one. Now that I'm looking at it, I should also put a kick rail on this guardrail, but as I said, this is not a real project, so don't worry about it. So what I'm going to do now is go to bed. No, I'm joking. I'm actually going to do some bracing. Don't ask me why. So the problem with the bracing is So the problem with the bracing is we need to set this up right. So I need to double click on this, position this on the center of the beam, which is going to mess all my stuff up here. And then I'm going to move it back down from here in the Z direction. So let's just say we did the project and the guy came back and said we need to put bracing in everywhere. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm going to move it back down to where it was, but now I've got the center point. So now this is the only time I ever switched the system line from the top. So I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to come down 4 feet, usually 3 feet, but I'll do 4 feet. Let's do 4 feet, and then I'll come over 4 feet. I'm just going to put in a single brace. I'm going to draw a line there all together so I'll know where the brace is going to be. So that's where my brace is going to be. So I'm going to draw an angle. Because I went 4 feet, I'll make it a 4-inch angle. So let's draw in an angle. This is how I do braces. This is not how everyone does braces, I'm sure. Position it on this point, and we're going to rotate it until we have it the way we want it. That's not the way we want it. I think if I go all the way here, sometimes it's a bit of guesswork. We'll just put one brace on the inside, okay? Now the problem with this is we want to put it sometimes on the gauge line, sometimes on the center line. So generally with braces, I will put them on the center line. It's a 4-inch angle, so we can put it on the center line. So the position of this, I'm going to move it to 2 inches. So you can see I'm gone the wrong way. It's gone away from me. That's not what I want. So I went in the wrong box. I want to go on this one. I'll go 2 and I'm going the wrong way again. So it's hard to guess the right way. But there you go. You have your brace. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a 3/8 plate on this. So you know what, for argument's sake, let's do a 1/2-inch plate. So let's name this as a brace. Actually, it's a vertical brace, right? Vertical bracing. Alright, so that's named as a brace. And you know what, let's go back into naming and lot phase. It's going to be in lot phase 1. So we're going to put it in the same phase with steel. Lot phase 1, do that before we copy it around. So I'm going to have a 1/2-inch clip just to make it easier. So I'm going to move the angle in 0.25 so that the plate will be centered on the column. And then I'm going to come in here, and you can see here's a connection, and I'm going to just have gusset plate, select the column, select the brace, and it's going to put in an angle. I don't like the angle like that, so I'm going to go to here, and I want to do 2, so I'm going to cut 2. You can worry about these parameters, 1.5 inches. You can see them all here, the bolts. There's 2 bolts. I'm going to make them TC bolts. Number of lines, 1, 2. Bolt distance is 3.5 inches. Center line. So if you have it set in the center line, put this as center line. So I do center line. Some people will say it's got to be on the gauge line, whatever you want to do. Alright, so now I'm going to go back to properties. I'm going to do library, save, edit, in case I have any problems later. Come in here, platform. Now, loads of these are old. I can just delete all these because I have way too many in here. So just go back in and delete all these. These are temporary. None of these are long term for me. It's all temporary. So I really like to keep this limited down to like 1 page, so I don't have to go scrolling. Like some of these jobs are like 3 years ago. Alright, okay. So as you can see here, now this is our platform. Alright. So what you want to do now is you want to use that one up here as well. So what you want to do is select this. And you can keep it in a group if you want. And select the beam. Now it'll ask you to separate them because this is a different size member, and I will say yes because I probably shouldn't have put them together, but you can keep together if you want. So I'll do no actually, and you can see it shows up in a blue box when it's not connected to this one. So now I have my bracing in, and that looks good. Happy enough with that. So the problem with copying is now sometimes you'll have issues with numbering. So I'm just going to show you the best way I find to copy for numbering. You can just select these and copy them, rotate them, whatever way you want to do it. This is the way I do it. I have already saved this connection, so I'm going to delete this box. I'm going to delete this box. So now these are unintelligent. So I am going to select these objects. Now, I don't have to select those welds as well, but I am going to select them. And it has brought a line in as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into my advanced copy. And I'm going to go to rotate. I'm not going to delete the source object. Select the rotate point is going to be, well, I guess I was at the top of the column, so I should have stayed at the top of the column. It's actually going to be this point up. Rotate angle should be -90 if I'm not wrong, but I certainly could be wrong. Yeah, it's -90 because it's going this. It's actually the opposite of what I would think it would be. That's how I know. So you can see these beams are the same size, so we're all good there. And if I do modify, you can see that the tick box is checked. So okay, so I'll just do okay, and that'll throw it in. And now if I check it, I can check this here, and you can see that that plate is connected to that column. So it did bring it intelligently over. Now I find when you number, if you don't delete these giant boxes, that it screws up the numbering. So let's get into it here. Let's just check that this is connected to this beam. Now the problem I have is this beam I did not fix to the right elevation. So what I'm going to do is match properties, beam, beam, beam. Now really I should have done this earlier, but I wasn't going to do the bracing, to be honest with you, but I decided to treat you guys to some bracing exercises. Said sorry, I'm getting a bit crazy. So let's move this down. This video is going to be start to finish. I'm not going to like do the assembly drawings because it would take 4 hours, but I'm just going to lay out some assemblies. I won't tidy up the stuff, do the assembly drawings, the approvals I mean. I'll do approvals, some assemblies. So you can see there's my bracing, so we're happy enough with that bracing. So let's go back in here. Now let's see what happens if we just select the two beams. Come in here. Let's do mirror. Select the mirror point. It's going to be the middle of that, right? Once I've drawn everything correctly. And preview. So you need to pick the plates as well. So it's just bringing in the bolts, and it didn't like it. See the way it was working down here? So we're going to cancel that out. And what we're going to do is we're not going to select everything, but we're going to select the plates and the braces, and then see if that works, which it should. Now I should have just modified and select these, but I closed it out by accident. So mirror, select a mirror point. And now watch, it shouldn't have to work this time. This should just pop right in there. See? And that's good. Happy with that. Okay. And then you're good. So let's say, yeah, let's just do, so then we might as well continue what we're doing. I know nobody's going to be watching the video to this point, so I guess it's just for my own brushing up. Alright, so now I'm going to copy. So we can just use this advanced copy here, and I can copy from the bottom of that column over to just need to be confident in where you're snapping to. So just be confident that you're snapping to the right place and you'll be fine. See, and it's brought in those. So now I've got some braces there, and now I'm going to select these two braces here, and I'm going to do the advance again. I'm going to rotate, and I'm going to do 180. Select rotate point. It's going to be not on the end of that, because that is not the center of the column. Remember, that angle is offset. Preview. I never selected the objects. No, I did select the objects. Interesting. So, because that changes back to 0, did it, after I selected the points? Yeah, that switched back to 0. Okay, and now select here, and then we can copy, or we can rotate, or whatever you want to do. We can copy these over again, and now because this advanced, because I have the tick box checked, this advanced copy is also using that tick box, so just keep that in mind. Alright, so there's your bracing, your platform. I guess I've been going quite a while now, so you know, I know people like to do these models in 10 minutes and 15 minutes, but realistically you're not making any model in 15 minutes, so I don't know why people do that. I guess because people don't have 2 hours to watch a video. So that's what you got. At the end of this video, I'm going to do the approvals. I'll do some assembly drawings. I'll do some lists. And I'll also export the model to Fusion and do a rendering of it. So for now, that's going to be it. I think what I'll do is I'll lay out the stairs. So let me just see. So I'm going to move this up to 1.5 inches. So that's going to be the top of my stair. And I'm not going to get into the stair too much either. So what do we got? We're 12 feet. So generally this is what I'll do. We'll go here and we'll go down 12 feet, right? Just click on that, make sure it's there. Alright, so 12 feet. So I'm going to move this out. to the edge in the Y direction, so that is flush with the outside of that. So that I'm going to use as top of my stairs. Sometimes we move it out a little bit, whatever. So we'll go there. So we're 12 feet. We don't want any more than 7 inches of a rise. So if we had 6 inches of a rise, that would be 224. So it's a lot. So let's do, if we divide this by 22, and then I'll check the distance. Now I'm sure other people have better ways of doing this. So that's 6. So we can do, what if I try 20, right? So just back out is the easiest way to do it. So let's do 20. Seven, so it's too many. So I'll go back 1. So I'll go 21. So generally we don't want to be any more than 7. Alright, so that's okay. So what we'll do is we want to go from this point out, because we're going to have a step up there. We don't need to have a step up there, but generally we'll try and put one just because it'll make it a little easier. So in the Z direction to here. So depending on see, sometimes these don't join. Let's see. So let me rotate this through the Y axis. Let's see if it'll join now. No, still won't join. So what I'll do is I'll delete that, and then I'll just do a polyline. I don't know why sometimes they don't join for me. Something I'm doing wrong, I know. And then just delete that one behind, just try and keep everything clean. Now, you know, generally you'll put this on a construction layer or something like that. So I can copy this. How many did I have? 21, right? And I want to do an array. How many items? 21. And you can see there it's laying them all out for us. Now you might just want to check, because you could be off by a 16th or something like that. So just put in an elevation symbol here, and you can see it is at 0. So we're good there. So that's what your stairs is going to be. Look, it's a little high. Maybe I should move the whole platform down so my stairs doesn't look a bit crazy, but let's not worry about it. I'll just do a long stairs. That's going to be the stairs, and the thing you need to know is after you lay it out that way, what I like to do is I'll join all these together. So hopefully all these will join. Yeah. And then what I'll do is don't forget, you can't start here. You need to start out here. So we need to go out one more, and I need to put that on that same construction layer. Now I didn't need to do that actually. If I back up out of that, and if I join them, if I select this one first, that one will switch. Alright, so that's the start of your stairs, and we're going to have this big long crazy stairs. I'm not going to get into adding a platform. I don't think I need to add a platform there anyway, but that's going to be our stairs. So I'm going to leave this for now. I guess it's pretty long, so I'll probably just do a part 1 and a part 2, and the next part and then I'll probably join the two of them together in a long video as well, in case anyone wants to just watch the whole thing. But I hope it's helpful. If anyone watched past 5 minutes, I guess you would have had to get to this point, so let me know if you've found any use of the video. Alright, take care.